Well, the new GTA Online update is here, bringing about a new set of payout changes along with it, which, being honest, are all pretty garbage. The main focus of the event is on the Last Dose missions, which has introduced a hard mode difficulty setting and a bunch of rare clothing rewards for completing it. So Rockstar decided to slap a 50% money bonus on those missions alone and call it a day, forcing the rest of us to get creative with our daily grind. But if you're still down in the trenches like I am, trying to make those big bucks as a solo player, well, don't worry because I got your back, and in this video I'll be showing off the best and easiest methods of making money this week. Now, while I might rag on the Last Dose missions, that's really only because they released some time ago, and a good chunk of the player base has already finished them in the past. If that's the case, and you're a veteran who already owns a number of other businesses, chances are there won't be much financial incentive to work through the missions, and your best bet will be doing the usual combination of the Cayo Perico heist, sale missions, and payphone hits. But if you're a new player trying to scrape together your first bit of money, or you're a completionist who likes collecting limited time only clothing, definitely don't sleep on this Last Dose hard mode event. There's a total of 5 missions, and with the 1.5 times money bonus that's applied this week, all of them will pay out around 50k each. But if you're completing them for the first time, you'll get an additional 100k for every mission. So between the bonuses and increased payouts, you can make approximately 750k in no more than 1 or 2 hours tops, which is honestly pretty decent, especially if you're just starting out. But to add to that, upon completion of the final mission, you'll also be given permanent ownership of Dr. Friedlander's Ocelot Virtue. This insane looking electric supercar is worth $2.9 million if you were to purchase it normally, and on top of the lightning fast acceleration, it also has functionality to be upgraded with Amani tech at your agency auto shop, allowing you to fit it with missile lock-on jammers or a remote driving system. To get access to that and all of the Last Dose missions, you will of course need to finish the first Dose missions that came with part 1 of the DLC, which I highly recommend you do if you haven't already. They're loaded with a similar set of money bonuses and reward the player with a Brigade 6x6 that can be converted into an acid lab, which currently offers the best passive money around. If you're new to the game or just looking to add another business to your collection, the Acid Lab is an absolute must, especially when rolling solo. I'll be sure to link my guides for that and the First Dose missions down below. Shortly after finishing First Dose, you'll get a call from Dax saying that he wants to meet up again and hit you with more work, which of course will launch the recently buffed Last Dose missions where you can work towards the 750k total payout and the free $2.9 million supercar we looked at before. Like I said, there are 5 Last Dose missions in total and they all vary in difficulty, but as long as you come prepared, none of them should take more than 10 or 20 minutes. The first mission starts you off with a bang and is actually one of the more intense shootouts in the series. But you're provided with heaps of cover, and as long as you don't stay exposed for too long and slowly work your way through the enemies, you shouldn't have any problems. The enemies tend to come in waves, with the only real hurdle being a few helicopters that spawn in with each one. They're easy enough to take care of, but it's good to prioritize them so they don't get a chance to rip you apart too badly. You will occasionally get enemies sneaking up behind you trying to flank you, but honestly it didn't happen as often as I thought it would, and you mostly just need to focus on what's in front of you, until eventually the remaining NPCs try to escape prior to the mission concluding. Mission 2 involves you interrogating a bunch of hippies at several locations until you find their leader, who will eventually cough up the location of a warehouse that contains clues that we need to search in order to find Labrat. The shootouts in this are super easy, and as long as you stay in cover or roll up in an armoured vehicle, you won't have any problems at all. As for the warehouse, you just need to search and photograph a total of 5 clues scattered around the building. Most of them are pretty obvious, but any stragglers will be identified by a green arrow over the top when you pass by them, so just walk around until they pop up. The third mission has you shooting up a laboratory, once again in search of clues to try and find our lost friend, Labrat the Legend. In my experience, the location of the intel has been randomized, so really it's just a matter of searching around until you see a folder like this and a prompt in the left-hand corner of the screen. The layout of the lab is a bit weird though, and it can be quite easy for enemies to sneak up on you, so make sure that you keep an eye on your minimap, take lots of cover, and snack up whenever necessary. Eventually you'll be led down to the basement for yet another shootout before eventually rescuing Labrat from the ego-driven wanker otherwise known as Dr. Friedlander. He'll chew your ear off for a good few minutes, and when you're done you'll have to drive everyone back to the freak shop while enemies chase you down, but it's all downhill once you get to this point. The fourth mission is kind of long, but it's super easy, and there is at least a method for speeding it up at the start. You'll be told to follow Dax to a destination marked on your map while he drives his slow-ass RV at about 5 miles per hour all the way through the winding Vinewood roads. There is absolutely no benefit to following him though, and you won't even be rewarded with additional dialogue, so just go to the yellow dot by yourself so that you can get started on the shootout that awaits you. There's only a few enemies to contend with, and before long you can bust your way inside to get the real party kicked off. Once you walk through the door, you'll immediately be drugged with some sort of trippy concoction, and then eventually get bombarded with all sorts of strange enemies ranging from killer clowns to savage wild animals, and yes, even a carbon copy of your own character for some reason. It's designed to be a bit confusing and overwhelming, but all you really need to do is just keep clearing out as many enemies as you can with your wonky drugged out line of sight. You'll probably end up dying a bunch, but it doesn't really matter. You'll just keep respawning and getting thrown back into the ring until the mission eventually finishes. The final mission is definitely the most cinematic, but it steals a bunch of stuff from single player, so the spectacle scenes might not be as impressive for the OGs. The objectives themselves are honestly pretty fun though, and I enjoyed this the most out of all of the missions. First you'll have to clear out the plane before eventually taking control of it, and being told to land it over the Sandy Shores airfield. When you arrive, a cutscene will take over and relieve you of the stress of having to land this big behemoth by yourself, before eventually spitting you out into a sea of police, who you're told to defend against while Dax loads up his truck with the chemicals that we stole with the plane. Similar to the shootout in the first mission, though this time a bit more contained, you'll need to defend from all sides while using the provided obstacles as cover from the onslaught of cops. With the cover that's provided, it's honestly not that difficult, but do be careful of the several choppers that'll fly over and try to ruin your day. But as long as you keep an eye on your minimap and stay on top of the enemies before they have a chance to properly surround you, you shouldn't find it too difficult trying to keep the crew protected until you're eventually told to drive Dax back to the freak shop to finish things up. Shortly after finishing each mission, the 100k bonus will be applied to your bank account, and by the time you complete all 5, you'll have around 750k when combined with the money that you make from the missions themselves. And on top of that, between now and May 17th, you'll be rewarded with a variety of clothing unlocks and a new style of camo for the Micro SMG when you complete different missions throughout the Last Dose story, all of them neatly presented here thanks to GTA series videos. One thing you can do to make the experience a lot easier is by purchasing an Armored Kuruma, which fortunately is on sale this week, coming in at around 450k or 340k if you complete the Fleecer job heist available through a high-end department. This car is in my top 5 vehicles that every player should own and makes grinding a hell of a lot easier all across the board. It provides you with an almost completely bulletproof shell to comfortably cruise around and take out enemies in, with very little risk to whoever's inside. You might not be able to use it in every single Last Dose mission, but for about 3 out of 5 of them you'll be super glad you bought it, especially considering how practical it is in the other areas of the game as well. But yeah, like I said, in terms of bonuses this week, we've been shafted pretty badly. Other than the 1.5 times money on Last Dose, the only other thing on the list is a 2 times money and RP bonus on the Acquire Targets game mode. And for anyone who enjoys the whole fighter pilot thing, it's a decent bit of fun, but even on double money, don't be expecting massive payouts. But yeah, while this might be a good event for new players or anyone who hasn't completed the missions already, for the serious solo grinders out there, it left a lot to be desired. Hopefully we get some better money bonuses next week though, and we can get back to a decent routine. But who knows at this point, Rockstar has been crazy unpredictable lately. Either way though, I'll be here as I always am, hooking you up with weekly guides on the best possible tips and tricks for making money as a solo player. So be sure to tap the like button if you found the video useful, and subscribe with notifications turned on to make sure that you stay up to date with everything GTA Online. But until we meet again, you bunch of legends, I am Red Nitrate and I'll catch you on the next one.